We are live.
Good morning. This is Career Day Interviews hosted by Donald Hovis from the Myrtle Beach CWRAP Club. Take it away, Donald.
Good morning, Terry. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for having me. And we're blessed to be joined today by Michael Arndt. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Don, Terry, and all the Rotarians out there and students.
So, Michael, start us off this morning telling us a little bit about your Rotary career thus far.
I moved to South Carolina 3 years ago from Nashville. We had a hearing practice there, and I was the head of the Exchange Club over there. The Rotary Club in Hendersonville, Tennessee is wall to wall. You can't even get in that club. Literally every seat was full. So I became an Exchange Club member. And when I moved here, I'd always heard about Rotary, and I was lucky enough to have a Rotarian come to our practice and become a patient early on. And he invited me to a meeting. And from the first meeting on, I fell in love with Rotary. I've been a member for 3 years now. I have my Paul Harris pin. Second one is earned, not awarded yet. And participate in our oyster roast and in our golf tournament and other functions that we do. And in particular, love the scholarship program. We awarded $22,000 a year scholarships last year. We're going for 40 this year. And the interviews with the students each week, 3 to 5 students will get up and present to our club what their goals and aspirations are and what they're doing currently. And it's just an awesome way to start our meeting every Thursday is with those aspiring young kids. And we have a clubhouse here, the Chris Myers House for abused children that we is a wonderful reason to go to every meeting. And of course, being in the hearing field, there's a big link between hearing and dementia. So the CART fund is really close to my heart, and it's a joy to be able to help raise funds for that as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you are a member of the Lexington Rotary Club?
I apologize for not saying that. I'm a proud member of the Lexington Rotary Club. We're about 70 members strong. We're a growing club, and just really lucky to have a great president, Mike Dawkins, and the whole team. And it's one of those things that when we travel, I do try to catch a meeting here and there on the road, but man, I miss my club.
Yeah, I agree with you. I miss my club as well, and look forward to things getting back to normal. See you here really, really soon. So thank you again for joining us. Now, you submitted some questions over that we're going to ask you and talk about what you do on a day-to-day basis, which is hearing and hearing specialty. So let's start off. How did you become a hearing specialist, and how long have you been helping people hear better?
So I started in this in the mid-'80s when there was another economic downturn. And I saw an ad that said, Roy Rogers loves our hearing aids and he wants to tell the whole world. And there was this company in San Diego where I lived that was a hearing aid manufacturer, and Roy Rogers and Arndt were their spokesman. And it was called New Ear, and there's New Ear practices all over South Carolina. And I went to work there. And my grandmother, my dad, my brother all have hearing problems. So it was something that they got free hearing aids, and I was excited to be able to get them free hearing aids. The truth is, though, that I quit after a year because the hearing aids really didn't help them very much. Hearing aids in the 80s were just glorified transistor radios, and I never thought I'd be in the hearing field again. But if anybody remembers Y2K, when Y2K happened, I was stuck in a job for medical insurance. I had an undiagnosed illness, and I ran into somebody for the hearing aid company. And to make a wonderful long story short, because of our time constraints, they hired me back. I had $100,000 in medical bills in the first year that I worked there, and they paid every dime. And I became a zealot to help the company and to help the hearing impaired. And along the way, I found out that I had a unique talent to help people who'd repeatedly failed with hearing aids. And I was especially skilled at cutting through the problems. And so I have patients in 7 different halls of fame now. I've worked on NFL sidelines. I've worked in NASCAR engine shops. I've worked backstage at the Grand Ole Opry. My wife and I used to tune performers' hearing aids before they went on stage. My company flew me all over the nation to work with new technology, to work with problem patients in clinics. And I even got to work, I'm a horse racing fan, I got to work with a jockey, and he won his 3rd Kentucky Derby wearing our hearing aids. So that was kind of exciting. So
That's really awesome.
yeah, we started our own practice in 2010 in Nashville, and we moved it over here 3 years ago. I just love being able to change people's lives in less than an hour. I'm addicted to it. People with severe hearing loss have built up a wall around themselves, and there's so much that they withdraw from activities like Rotary, like going to church, big family gatherings, going out to eat. Their hearing loss becomes a thing that excludes them more and more and more. And to be able to just, do a hearing test and punch a few buttons and see that dramatic impact. I've had couples tell me that it saved their marriage. I mean, think about that. Just being able to make that sort of change in somebody's life without a surgery, without 8 years of medical school. I have a high school diploma. I've never been to college. In South Carolina, you can become a hearing specialist with a high school diploma and an apprenticeship. And it's such an underserved field right now. There's more baby boomers all the time who are getting older. I was on a conference call, a Zoom call before this, and I noticed several of the participants were having to have people repeat what they'd said. So even as this virus changes the way we all communicate, what we do is going to have even more of an impact on people. Terry, just before we came on here, I told him about a new software that can help people. And so I see everything as a hearing device. Your TV is a hearing aid. Your phone is a hearing aid. This computer we're on is a hearing aid. And it's how can we make that clearer for you? How can we make it serve correct for your hearing loss in the moment? That's exciting to go beyond just little devices that everybody wears in their ears.
Right. Really cool. So I'm anxious to hear your answer to this next question because I know things have changed. How have hearing aids changed during your career?
So, as I said in my first answer, they were basically just little transistor hearing aids. When I came back in, it was the person who had invited me to come back to work at the company said, Mike, things are different now. I know you quit because hearing aids weren't good, but we have this new technology. It's called digital. And no one had ever heard the word digital back then. It was new. And so when computer chips first came into hearing aids, we thought that would solve all these problems instantly. But the truth is, 5 years later, I was ready to leave the profession again, because to sit across from people and have still 20% of the people I was with, I couldn't help, no matter how skilled I was, the best hearing aids, the motivated patient, we still couldn't help about 20% of the people get where we wanted to get. But an engineer told me, Mike, give it another 2 years, because what's happening is the computer chip makers are changing things. And over the last 10 years, we've reached a point where a single hearing aid might have 20,000 microscopically thin layered chips in there. And that has changed everything. I can be on an NFL sideline. Mike Singletary, when he was the 49ers head coach, was my patient. And that technology finally reached a point where I could help him hear on the sideline. And the NASCAR engine tuner, it finally reached a point where we could process all this sound at once. And now hearing aids are going beyond that. They can tell if somebody's taken a fall. There are hearing aids that will be able to test blood pressure and glucose and give alerts. hearing aids are going to become, well, I mentioned again to Terry, I could tune people's hearing aids from my table here today in their home in Somerville or in Hilton Head or wherever they may be through their computer now. People's smartphones have become remote controls for the hearing aids, and they can do some very advanced things by themselves on their phone. And so all of these things are really a big change. And then there's some basic things. You know, as good as the technology is, if it's plugged with earwax, it won't work. And so there are hearing aids that will alert you when they're not functioning properly, or that will do a self-test. The manufacturers have got better and better and better at coding. So hearing aids break down very, very little now in South Carolina's huge humidity. That's a big, big difference. And then just comfort and size. You know, I had a patient, we were sitting at the Grand Ole Opry, and he was right in front of me. And the whole first set, I was upset because he wasn't wearing his hearing aids. And I don't do this to do anything other than help people. And if he wasn't wearing them, I must have failed. And so Vince Gill got done with his set, and we stood up to take a break, and he turned around and saw us. And he's like, "Oh, how you doing, Mike? Good to see you." And I said, "Look, I got to know, why aren't you wearing your hearing aids?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" And he reached up and pulled it off. And it was one of the behind-the-ear hearing aids. Well, we'd done such a good job that I had chosen just the right product for him that I sat behind him for 30 minutes of music, and I couldn't tell he was wearing it. And so I'm proud of that. I mean, that's what we're striving for, is can't see it, can't feel it, and you hear great. If I do those three, we've succeeded. So the technology now is really, really advanced, and the things that are in the pipeline to come are pretty mind-boggling. We're reaching an age where they're going to call it the voice era. You're going to talk to your coffee pot and tell it to make coffee. I was at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and I saw a machine that's a washing machine that when it's done washing, it automatically dumps the clothes into the dryer. The dryer automatically dries the clothes and dumps it into a folder. The folder automatically folds the clothes, and it comes down to robot butler, who then carries the clothes to the bedroom and puts them away in the dresser in the closet automatically. And that's a voice command type of thing. So all these devices in our world are going to become part of us. And for people with hearing loss, they become more and more and more excluded. As voice command and devices talking to you are part of this, people with hearing loss can't participate like everybody else. Just take the Zoom call. They can't participate in these things as well. So being able to have hearing aids that actually not only correct the hearing loss, but allow them to communicate with their GPS or with their refrigerator or whatever other things are going on, that's really exciting. And then, I don't know if people realize it or not, but very abruptly, we've entered the world of virtual medicine. Before this ever happened, I already knew that 80% of our medical visits within 5 to 10 years are going to be with a virtual doctor. You won't be going to the doctor's office nearly as much. And so again, for people with hearing loss, that becomes more and more of a barrier, more and more chances for not understanding what the doctor's wanting you to do, not understanding the questions, not understanding the pharmacist, all these different things. And so hearing aids are really advancing into an area where they're going to become integral in people's lives. And there's a whole new field called wearables. And wearables are different things like, Don, you wear glasses, Terry, you wear glasses. You saw the Google glasses. That was a very rudimentary version of wearables. But eyeglasses and hearing aids and things like this, they're going to become our computer right on our face and on our head. And so hearing aids are a big part of that. And I'm excited to be part of that. And for our students who are looking at this as a potential career, I can tell you that these things are becoming very cool very quick. We made a clear shell hearing aid for somebody. They didn't want the behind the ears. They have very tiny ears. We made a clear shell one so the gold circuitry inside would show. And it has Bluetooth so they can stream music. They could stream their phone calls and everything through it. And they're a younger person. And they've told me their friends are actually jealous now that they have this one-of-a-kind Bluetooth device.
That's really cool. Yeah, technology is simply amazing, and we've only scratched the surface, in my opinion, of things that we're going to see coming in the years to come.
Yep.
For the students out there, this question, next question should definitely help them out. What quantities or qualities, sorry, do you feel a person should have to make this the right career choice for them?
So we'll break that into two categories. We'll break it into what physically and mentally and academically you need, and then we're going to talk about the heart a little bit. Physically, you need to be able to handle small devices. You need to be comfortable working with people physically to go into their ear canal. You can't be squeamish. Sometimes you look in the ear canals, and I've found all sorts of things that I won't spoil anybody's breakfast about finding, but by and large, most people's ears, you just have to go down in that canal. You have to inject material in it sometimes to take molds. So there's a certain amount of normal physical skill equivalent to, say, what a dentist or a mechanic might need. So you have to be reasonably good with your hands. The second thing is that as far as your academics, there's two categories of hearing specialists. There's audiologists and there's hearing specialists. I'm a hearing specialist. I've reached a point where companies pay me to consult. I have patients all over the nation. I have patients in the Hall of Fame, but I just have a high school diploma. I have never went to college. In South Carolina, anybody with a high school diploma can train and be an apprentice for 6 months to a year and take the test. And if they pass the test, just as they could become any other nurse practitioner or something else, you become a hearing instrument specialist. And a hearing instrument specialist is thoroughly qualified to test hearing, to provide or recommend and provide hearing correction, to tune all the hearing aids, to repair all the different hearing aids, to understand, most importantly, when to refer up the medical chain to an ear, nose, and throat practice, because you've seen some things that you know go beyond normal noise-related or age-related hearing loss. We are definitely not doctors. We are licensed medical professionals, but I consider us the on-the-ground troops helping people to the greatest degree day in and day out. A small percentage of people with hearing loss, under 10%, have conditions that really should be seen by an ear, nose, and throat doctor and an audiologist. Now, an audiologist goes to school for up to 8 years to become a doctor of audiology. They probably get a $20,000 a year higher salary than a hearing specialist. A hearing specialist would make about $70,000 a year. An audiologist would make $90,000 to $100,000 a year. So it's a great career from a financial standpoint. You can provide for your family and do a great job that way. They have a downside on that, though. They have a lot of 8 years worth of loans that they leave college with having to pay back, where with the hearing specialist, you go right to work and you can be providing for your family and earning right off the bat. But the audiologist can do a lot of things that we're not allowed to do. And for insurance work, there are many insurance plans that audiologists are required. And so it's probably considered a higher level above us, yet I was flown all over the country to fix problems in audiology offices because my expertise was greater than theirs with nuts and bolts things helping people to hear. But if people are going to college, if they have the ability to go to college, having an audiology degree, the baby boomers are getting older, and I would advise anybody in my family, if you can become an audiologist, you should. That's the best long-term career. But for hearing instrument specialists, I just love helping people, and somebody who's, 19 now and not sure what they want to do, this is a career they could be making a great living in by the time they're 21.
Excellent, excellent. Very interesting talk. As we said right before we came on this morning, this is streaming live on Facebook. I'm actually watching the feed to see if we have any questions, and we actually have 3. And in the spirit of time, we want you to answer those 3 obviously as quickly as you can for time's sake. The first one is, how would someone start in your business?
The best thing to do is get the International Hearing Society books. So go to IHS, I'm not sure if it's .gov or .com, but the International Hearing Society has an at-home training program. You can contact local practices in your area and say, I saw a career talk on this and I'm interested in joining this field. You can email me at michael@digitalhearingoutlet.com. And I will be glad to put you with all the proper folks out there to help you look at this as a career choice.
Excellent. Second question, would you encourage kids to get some college even though it isn't necessary in your business?
So the part of my answer I left out before, I'll get to now. Yes, I would encourage everybody to get at least 2 years of college. South Carolina doesn't require it, but for instance, Tennessee does. One of the great things about this career, folks, there's ears everywhere. Do you want to live in Hawaii or Alaska or Ireland or France? Well, guess what? You can do hearing anywhere. And so having a college degree of some sort can allow you to qualify for licensing in states that require that. And that's well worthwhile. And the more knowledge you have, knowledge is power.
And our third and final question is, how do you find your customers?
So we're different than most. We've never advertised. You'll see hearing aid ads on TV, and you'll see hearing aid ads in the newspaper. I don't believe in that. I don't believe medicine should really be advertising. It's too expensive as it is. And so our prices are far lower than anybody else because it's all word of mouth. And so this morning I did a meeting on Zoom with 25 business owners. I give talks to Rotary. Any Rotary chapter can have me in, and I'll give them a wonderful talk on hearing and meet members. I do whatever I can to just help people, and then ask them if they know anybody else with a hearing problem. And that's the best way that I get customers. We also provide services for 6 different insurance companies, and so I get referrals from them as well. But word of mouth is the #1 reason.
Word of mouth.
Good work, you'll always get that.
Absolutely, and definitely word of mouth is the most profitable form of business, in my opinion.
I'm proud that we've built 2 different practices now and never run an ad of any kind.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Michael, for joining us this morning. Interesting stuff you have to talk about, and I'm sure the kids out there and I learned more about hearing in the last 20 minutes or so than I knew before.
And if I could say one last thing,
sure.
I'm happy to come serve anybody basically in South Carolina. We have patients in Myrtle Beach. We have patients in Greenville. So if you have a family member who isn't happy, they don't have to buy hearing aids from us. I'm happy to fix what they already have. I just love helping people here. And for any chapters out there, I'm happy to come give a talk anytime. I really enjoy doing that. And there's so much misinformation out there that I love a long-term Q&A where I can just answer questions for members.
That's excellent. You can be an excellent resource for members in our district. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
In conclusion today, I would like to recite the 4-way test as we end today, and we say this as we end every Rotary meeting around the world, is the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
Is it
fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Facebook, for tuning in today. We'll see everyone back Friday morning at 11 a.m. Have a great Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.